Good morning. Welcome to the Sunday live stream. Yesterday I was on time and I had such high hopes for myself today. So I apologize for being late. I've been turning that into a very bad habit the last couple of weeks. I'm going to correct that, I promise. How's it going? My name is Angela. Today is Sunday, March 1st. Thank God it's March. Spring, hopefully, right around the corner. My name is Angela. I'm a front-end developer and a software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. How's it going? On this channel, we do vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Do you need to know a framework or a library to be a working front-end developer? Yeah, of course you do. But on this channel, we practice vanilla because I personally really enjoy vanilla and I want to promote more vanilla learning, especially on dev YouTube, which I think right now is like all React, all Tailwind, all the time. Of course, those things are important. Excuse me, I have a runny nose. I'm so sorry. Let me switch screens here. Of course, dev YouTube is filled with React and Tailwind right now. And those, it feels like those are the most popular things to learn. And yeah, it would be in your best interest to learn that stuff. You're not really going to see me use those things on this channel because I think there are so many people doing it so much better than I am. And as a developer who's been doing front end for almost 13 years now, I can tell you working with junior developers, new people fresh out of like a boot camp, or even just maybe you are coming out of a CS degree, something like that. The basics, the foundations are not being covered as in depth as I think they should be. I just see gaps, and I obviously don't know every front-end developer out there or every junior developer out there, but the ones that I've run into commonly don't know the difference between a div and a span. Don't really understand the difference between display block, display inline, and display inline block. All three of those things are very powerful and worth knowing, in my opinion. Positioning, position relative, position absolute, position fixed, position sticky. There's lots of different there's more than just those four. Those are the four I probably use the most often on this channel. So if you have a desire to be better at vanilla, if you have a desire in particular to be better at vanilla CSS and understand cascade, specificity, inheritance, how the browser naturally renders HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, that's what we do here. So this dovetails nicely into the next thing I want to talk about, which is that my plan for today was to do a deep dive into the vanilla JavaScript for our menu functionality. We have a top level menu, and I also wanted to build submenus. Well, we've built the submenus. We have the markup in place. We have the CSS in place. We also have buttons. We have everything kind of figured out in a way that is mobile, responsive, and accessible, right? I've built in my career lots of navigation with submenus, but it's only been in the last couple of years where I've really dug in and made sure that the work I'm doing is not just responsive, but also accessible, and understanding what is accessible behavior? Like, what is that really? And what is the expected user experience? It's complex. It's really complex, even this many years into it. And if it's complex for me, it's probably complex for you too. So this is our chance to kind of do it together. Okay, I'm off topic. I'm not ready to do the JavaScript today. This is the one thing that I don't love doing live because I'm just not that good at JavaScript. It's not my strength. It takes me a lot when I'm like working on client work, or if I'm at my job, which I don't have a job right now because I'm freelancing and consulting and doing content creation. But if I were at a job, if I was consulting, if I was doing contract work, it would take me a little longer to do the JavaScript, and I would also be leaning heavily on GitHub Copilot and ChatGPT. But it's different for this stream. I don't want to lean into those things. I'm here to practice and I'm here to learn. And it does make me feel self-conscious to do too much of that with JavaScript on stream because I feel like it's taking too long. I feel like the chat is getting frustrated with me with how long it's taking. And so I'm starting to err on the side of doing my homework privately and then coming into the stream and making sure that I'm somewhat prepared to do some of that. It's an evolution. I'm 18 months into this streaming thing and I'm still trying to figure it out. We're getting there. So I want to say hello though to some people in the chat. Malik Robinson is here. Go Elmo. Hello, my friend. Monique Robinson is also here. Greetings to everyone. Monique found me. Monique, I feel like you found me literally weeks into streaming. And here she is. She's a mod. I love Monique. Christian Codes is here. Hello, Christian Codes. Also has a channel where he streams. I think you're still streaming daily, are you not? And his channel is growing. It's really cool to see. And Christian says, let them get frustrated. I always explain to people suffering while learning is okay. Yeah, I totally agree. And I've said for years, embrace the suffering because I'm a self-taught developer. But it does, Christian, you tell me how like emotionally, how do you deal with balancing the chat with your own learning with doing everything publicly? For the HTML, the accessibility, the CSS part, I have no issues with this. And it's not that I know everything, far from it. I have to look things up and refresh my memory all the time. So I feel very confident with the HTML and the CSS because I know it so well. I just really struggle with the JavaScript part of it. It's just, I don't know if it must just be a mental thing. And yeah, Christian says he's streaming daily. So, yeah, we're figuring it out, right? We're figuring it out. I have decided that I would prefer to do some of the JavaScript for this navigation privately and then come back and go through it and implement it a bit more prepared. So that's just the decision that I've made. I'm about half done. I worked on it for the better part of yesterday evening and a little bit again this morning, and I just didn't have it in a place where I felt comfortable this morning. So this is the executive decision that I've made. But listen, there's plenty to do here. We've got lots of work to do. So we're just going to dive back into the CSS. And then I anticipate on Tuesday when I come back, I will have the JavaScript ready. And also I'm learning a lot. And to be clear, I am using ChatGPT to help me with the JavaScript, but I've figured out that when I ask ChatGPT questions, I say, do not give me code. Here's what I'm thinking. Can you confirm if I'm on the right track? And this has turned out to be a beautiful way to like have a real conversation with ChatGPT without it just trying to be like, oh, here, I'm just going to do it for you. So Christian says, the chat is my very last priority. Sometimes I will just close the chat. They know when I turn on my Pomodoro that I'm not going to chat. I do 10 Pomodoros and I focus and ignore the chat and listen to music. Oh, Christian. So I have to say, I have a chat that I really like and enjoy, but I have wondered if I should take more of an approach with that. Yeah, Pomodoro. What is, I don't know what that is. Pomodoro. Oh, it's a timer. I have seen your timer. Okay. Pomodoro timer. Huh. You're an inspiration. This is why it is so important, even if you have a lot of experience, to talk to Talk to new developers. Just talk to other developers. This is okay. I might start taking this approach. Because this is always, I've always said this is about my practice time, but I also want it to be educational because I do feel like I genuinely am good at so many things and I love talking through that process and explaining it. So, and Christian says, I like my chat too, but it's a boundary. You're very inspiring. You're very inspiring. Thank you for coming into my chat and sharing this with me. I really appreciate it. Someone in the stream showed me a better website. Let me find it. Hang on one second, Christian. I'm going to, you know what I would like to do? Christian, do you know what I would like to do? No, you have no idea because I haven't said it yet. I really like Christian. He is, hang on here. I really like Christian. So Christian, no pressure. You are now a moderator on my channel. So now part of that is so you can put links in the chat because I trust you. I want you to be able to put links in the chat. But also I just really like you and I admire the work you're doing and I love talking, especially to new developers and hearing what other people are doing. And I think it's really cool that you come and say hello and share things that you're doing. So you have ascended. We love you. We love Christian Codes. So, and you've been very kind to me. You've been very kind to me. And I, of course, appreciate that. And a lot of it just has to do with trust, right? And the thing that I tell the mods is, you don't have to, like, if people want to like challenge me or challenge my ideas as it pertains to the work, if you want to say something about, if you want to make a comment about like, AI, or you think that, like, I remember once there was a comment like AI is going to cook you all sideways, which I thought was hilarious. You don't have to delete comments like that. I would say I tell the mods, like, if somebody is like coming after me personally or being rude to me personally or being like lewd or explicit or whatever, that's the stuff that I don't really tolerate very well in my chat. But if you want to challenge my work, if you want to get a little sassy with me because you think I'm doing something wrong, I'm begging you, let me respond to that, because I will defend my choices all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. I will defend my choices, even if I'm not like super sure about it, because I am like a fairly decent, confident problem solver. So, let me see here. And Christian says, Kairu, this is a website one of my viewers suggested. I'm going to start using it. Kairu app. Kairu. Stay focused, achieve more. Kairu helps you stay, let's see here. Kairu helps you stay focused with structured sessions and meaningful insights into how you spend your time. Make each hour. Talk, Angela. Okay, I'm going to start maybe doing something like this because we do have a prompt in the chat with Nightbot, and the mods are really good where when I say, like, okay, I'm going to do some focus work time now, they'll do like the focus prompt in the chat, and people are pretty respectful of that. But this might be a really good idea. This could be a really good idea where I'm just like closing the chat and whatever happens, happens, right? I love that. Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, you've told me that before. You said that you wouldn't even be streaming if you hadn't found my lives. I've had other people tell me that too, and I love that. I love that we're starting this new culture of like building in public because it really does amazing things for your confidence. It's done amazing things for my confidence. So I can only imagine how a new developer would feel after learning to stream and build in public. It's one of the best things if you're a new developer that you could possibly do. So, and Malik says, this is an anti-freak zone. Yeah, Malik knows. Malik's had to delete a couple of gross comments. So, and it's Pompodoro with tracking. Cool. Okay. Well, today's going to be all vanilla. I see myself using this more when I'm in JavaScript mode. Yeah. So I'm going to dig into these a little bit more, and we may try these. But I'm going to be ready for the JavaScript for the navigation on Tuesday. And yeah, we'll be ready for the navigation on the JavaScript navigation on Tuesday, which I'm pretty excited about. And today I just want to like dig back into CSS because that's the stuff that I love. We're going to style the newsletter sign up. I'm not ready to hook that up to MailChimp quite yet because I just haven't sorted out how to deal with that in a live stream without showing people things that I don't want to show. So let's just dive back into some vanilla CSS. That's what I love. Oh, maybe this is a good time, really quick. Maybe this is a good time to remind people, hey, if you're new here, go ahead and give the video a like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I would appreciate it so much. It helps the algorithm, helps push videos like this out to more people who might be interested in this type of content. Subscribe if you're not already. We just went past 2,000 subscribers like last weekend, which was pretty cool. And the channel is growing. I'm super excited. I kind of shifted from... I've been in this mode for a really long time, like, oh, why didn't I start my channel in 2020 when everybody else was starting a channel? Like, maybe I would have 100,000 subscribers by now if I had done that. And so I've just spent a lot of time, like, beating myself up about the woulda, coulda, shoulda. And I've finally moved past that to looking at my channel and being like, okay, 18 months, 220 some videos, well over 1,000 hours of live streaming. I've officially crossed over into, okay, you did it. You are doing it. You actually have a library of content and you're showing up 4 days a week. And that is just such a cool feeling. And I obviously can't do that without people showing up, hitting the like button, subscribing, and then returning to hang out with me. So thank you thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. And also, I'm trying really hard to grow my audience on Instagram this year. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Angela J. Holden is my profile. I don't do like super dev heavy content. I would call it more lifestyle adjacent. Lots of pictures of my dog, occasional things about the things that I'm cooking. And of course, I'm always available on DMs if you want to chat with me as well. So there's that. Okay. And Malik says, I finished my redesign that is due Tuesday. Took me maybe a few hours to design 2 different versions. Was fun to do. So Malik is in his very first, he's a new grad. He just finished school this past year. I think, right? Yeah, you did. You finished school this in 2025. And he is doing a web design internship where they use Figma. So so he was given his first task as part of the team, the design team, to work on some new stuff. So that's really cool. Rahul is here. Welcome, Rahul. Thank you. Christian Codes, thank you for congrats on 2K. It was, yep, the redesign for his internship website. So we are very proud of Malik. He goes to team meetings now. So he's like kind of a big deal, if you know what I mean. And I think you do. So when you go to team meetings, you've basically arrived. So enjoy that feeling. Enjoy that feeling. So yeah, he graduated about 5 months ago. Yeah, that makes sense. So what is it? So I think you graduated in the summer. Did you graduate in the summer? At the end of the summer term? Spring, summer? Yeah, you graduated in 2025. I remember. So, okay. Let's get back to styling. Rahul is here, but I don't think he was here at the beginning when I said, so I want to let him know. Because Rahul is a big supporter of the JavaScript and my learning. Not ready to do the JavaScript today. It's going to be on Tuesday. I've been working on it. I'm not ready to build in public yet with it. So the JavaScript's going to be ready on Tuesday. We are proceeding with CSS today. And that is my executive decision. So, oh, and let's open up our design files. There you go. So here's our there we go. Here's our home page. So we're about this far. So next we need to go ahead and style the newsletter. Here we go. This might be a little too big. Here we go. Here's our header. I'm going to close this. Here's our hero. Here's our headline. Here's our grid. Here is our newsletter. So yeah, we're just going to style this today. We're not going to worry too much about the MailChimp, but we will include that. So here's our newsletter. And Christian says, no. Angela, I've betrayed you. I've become a framework library person. I like React. I like it there. That's the truth. No, there's no betrayal. So I only want people to know, it's worth saying, I only want people to understand vanilla because I still think it's important if you're a front-end developer to understand vanilla. My friends, no, you can't get a job if you don't know a framework or a library. It's not possible. Maybe it was 10 years ago. Obviously, it was 10 years ago when I was first starting out. But today, if you don't know something, it's going to be very difficult for you to find a job. That being said, I just really feel like vanilla is still important and worth learning. And that's all this is promoting vanilla. I also personally just really enjoy vanilla. I like doing these vanilla projects, and I feel like this is a part of YouTube that is a bit underserved. Maybe Kevin Powell is obviously really leaning into vanilla CSS. I'm not saying he doesn't do anything else on his channel, but I think that a pure vanilla channel is just a good niche on YouTube, and I happen to enjoy it, and I think it's important. So no, it's no betrayal, not at all, not at all. And I'm glad that you enjoy it. If you like React and you are enjoying it, it's going to be easier for you to find a job. Let's face it, right? Okay, so I think I put this centered. So let's just go ahead and center our headline and our text. It would probably be smart to put this in a container too. So we'll just do div probably description is the best way to do that. But if I used that before, I didn't use it here. What did I use up here? Nope, the hero. I called this the hero text. So let's just call this a description, and then we're gonna have to remember that We'll say description. And we can give that a wrap also. Should we just put the whole thing in a wrap? Doesn't it just make more sense to put the whole thing in a wrap? I think it does. There. All right. Yeah, that makes more sense. And then we'll just, well, we have a center class, don't we? So we can just do that. And then our newsletter secondary heading, we're going to go ahead and change the font size. So the font size is a lot bigger. So what is this? I don't remember. We just did it yesterday. Our secondary heading is, so here's our current clamp. I'm just going to copy this. Here's our current clamp. I think that I would like it on mobile to match what else is happening. But I think for desktop, let's try this. That is pretty big. Oh, but it is a little bit bigger. It is a little bit bigger even than this. But I don't think it needs to be that big. So let's try 2.5. Yeah, that looks about right. And then let's make sure that this has, just this paragraph does have a max width. So we'll do the, so I'm going to do the newsletter paragraph. And we'll say max width. We'll say 80 characters. And we'll make sure that that is also centered. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And I'm good with this margin, has 2 rems. So I'm good with that. And then we added a name and an email address. So we'll go ahead and style that. So here's our form. Our labels are screen reader hidden. So we've got 1, 2, 3. I'm going to, I guess we could just so we'll do the newsletter form, thinking about the best approach for this. Position relative. So we can position absolute our submit button over top. We probably don't want to put it inside the input since we have 2 inputs. We probably want to move that over here off to the side. So we're styling the input, and the button. I feel like grid is a good use for that, and then we're not doing any positioning. So maybe display grid. Grid template columns. Nope. Grid template columns. So if we think of it in a 12-column layout, 552, 5FR, 5FR, 2FR. Am I thinking about that the right way? No. Oh. No commas, I don't think. There we go. Look at that. So maybe 662. That's the thing about grid. It doesn't have to be, it's not a 12-column layout anymore, is it? It removes that thinking, which I'm so used to. Good grief. There it is. And then we can give it some gap. Maybe one run. We have to remove that padding. We'll remove the padding from the buttons. Yeah, that brings it a little closer. Probably just need to adjust that. Yeah, it's weird to me how it works. I mean, what is it supposed to add up to? That's what I don't understand. Is it supposed to add up to something? Is it supposed to add up to 10, 100? So this is 25. 12 plus 12 plus 1 is 25. Is that what it's supposed to add up to? I'm going to go with this, I guess. So what happens if I say 6? 6. The same, not quite the same thing. Okay, so I'll go 12, 12, 1, but I don't understand what it's supposed to add up to. Is it supposed to add up to something? I don't know. Yeah. Gap 0.5 rems. We'll go with this. Oh, we need to remove that padding. I'm going to take off the default padding on our button. All right. That works. It's pretty easy, actually. And it's nice and squishy. And where is our description going? Why is that disappearing? Oh, we are using description someplace. Not really using description here, so let's just take that out, and we'll just, that's just a div that is centered. There we go. There we go. Okay, let's, and Saeed is saying, how much work is left in this? A lot. I mean, if you're looking for like a days or hours, I don't, probably, if I had to guess, maybe we have a couple weeks left, although I'm planning to do 2 sprints. I'm planning to do 2 sprints in March. I have some dates in mind. When we're done today, I'll tell you what those dates are. So the more I stream, the more, the quicker it'll go, right? Takes as long as it takes. I'm not implying that you're complaining about anything. I'm just, I'm not sure. Not really sure. Rayhan is here. Hello, Rayhan. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Oh, my screen is frozen again. My screen is frozen again. Hang on. I don't know why that's happening. It happened yesterday too. Oops. I don't know how long my screen has been frozen. Hang on. There, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I'm sorry about that, guys. Hang on, I'm gonna check. I'm gonna look here. Oh, 10 minutes? I'm so sorry. Okay. That's fine. We're gonna back up a little bit and we'll go over that again. So, one moment. Well, we're having all sorts of issues. Let me see. I want to go back here and see if I can figure out exactly. Okay, so, well, that's a bummer. I'm so sorry about that. So here's what I did. I did grid to style the form. So let's actually just remove that. So my screen froze right when I was styling the width of the paragraph tags for the description right here for the newsletter sign up. And for the form, and I'm going to do a better job keeping an eye on my other monitor to make sure that A, I'm not muted, and B, my screen isn't frozen. I don't know why that's happening. It happened yesterday too. Hadn't happened in a really long time, so I'm not sure why. Okay, so we're styling the input and 2 inputs and a button. Our labels are screen reader only, so they are hidden off canvas. So we basically have 3 things here that we're going to style. So I've got a class, the newsletter form. We'll go ahead and grab that. And I'm going to do display grid. And we'll say grid template columns. And I'm going to do 12 FR, 12 FR, and then 1 FR. And the thing that I kind of wonder about grid that is a little bit confusing is, are these fractions supposed to add up to something? Like, if I've been in 12 column land layout for so many years that to me everything is supposed to add up to 12 columns. I don't know if grid is supposed to work like that. I feel like grid removes the whole 12 column thing from development. We don't think about it like that anymore. We just think about it in fractions. So if this gives me the layout that I want, which is that this is 12 FR and this is 12 FR and this is 1 FR, that equals 25. So 12 plus 12 plus 1 is 25. Is it supposed to equal something? That's what I don't understand. Is it supposed to equal something? Maybe I need to do a little more reading on that. So basically all I did with here to come up with this is if I hover over form, you can kind of see the outlines of the containers. You can kind of move these back and forth. And this kind of just seemed to work. So now I'm going to add a gap of 0.5 rems. That puts a little bit of a gap in there. And I feel like I've got equal containers for what I'm trying to achieve here. An equal name, an equal email, and then we have our button for the submit. So here's the input in pixel value, 601.91 pixels. 601.92 pixels, so these are the same. 601.91, 601.92, close enough. And then we have our button, and the button is 50.16 by 48. That's perfect. The tap target is supposed to be 48 by 48. So there's our styles. We'll add that gap here. And I'm so sorry that my screen was frozen. If you see my screen is frozen, I do have, like, in my periphery the chat here, but I also need to be better at making sure that everything is moving along. So, okay, let's make sure that our form styles. So I'm going to give our newsletter form class, which is the form element itself, I'm going to give that a little bit of margin so we can push that away. So we'll just give this a little bit of margin on the top and bottom. So maybe 2 rems on the top, 0 on the left and right, 0 on the bottom. Pushes it away a little bit. And then we'll give these some better form styles. So this is the newsletter form input. We have an input type text. This is also an input type. This should be input type email. And then we've got a button type submit. So let's just deal with our inputs. And I'm not going to style them based on their type. I'm just going to style them as the newsletter form inputs. Newsletter form input. Well, I will do a type. No. I don't want to get too specific, but I don't want to be too broad. I'm just going to do the newsletter form inputs. Yeah. So we'll say, and I'm going to give these my green color. So first I'll give them a little bit of padding. So if I give them a rem of padding, we'll give them a border of 2 pixels, solid, and we'll use our accent color. Newsletter form input. Why aren't you getting those styles? Oh, I spelled this wrong. News. There we go. Not that much to do here. And then we'll style this. And I'm going to make this look, we'll make it look buttony. Newsletter form button. And we'll give this a background color of our accent. What is our hover going to be if I do that? Okay, we're going to give it, we'll try it like this. I'm also going to give it a border of 2 pixels, solid. Newsletter form SVG. This has a, this is fill none, and it has a stroke. So that's how what we're going to style. So this will be a stroke of white. No. If the border is green and the background is green, yes, then the stroke is white. That doesn't look that good, does it? I think we just need to make the SVG smaller. That's all. Let's just make the SVG smaller. The button is what really matters. So we have that tap target. And if we're going to put a border around it, let's just make the button smaller. Yeah. So I'm going to leave this transparent for now. We'll give this probably the best way to deal with this is to just flexbox the SVG inside the button instead of trying to get the padding to do it for us. So we'll say display flex. I don't think flex flow even matters. I think we just need justify content center and align item center. And then we can change the width and height of our SVG. Oh, that looks okay. That looks proportional. Okay, so if we make that and then we make this white. Yeah, I love it. It just needed to be proportional. That's all. That is all. Okay, so now we'll do our hover. So here's our button and our SVG. So first we'll transition the button. Transition, background color, 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. And then we'll do a focus hover active for these. Oops. And the background color will transition to transparent. And then we need to do the same thing for our SVG. We need to change it from white to our accent color. So I'm going to copy these. So when we focus on the button, we want to trigger the SVG. When we hover on the button, we trigger the SVG. And when the button is active, we trigger the SVG, and we will change the stroke from white to our accent color. And then we also want to transition the SVG. So we're transitioning the stroke, 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. There we go. There's our submit button. So let's make sure that this is responsive. I feel like this feels pretty wide. Does that feel pretty wide? Yeah. I can maybe narrow this up a little bit. So probably the best way to do that is to just, since we're using the wrap to pull it in, and the wrap is really determining what the width is, let's just do a new wrap max width for the newsletter. And that's that. That's all we have to do. So we're just changing that one little thing. Newsletter wrap. So what do we think this is? We'll get a rough idea. About 6, maybe we'll call it 650. So we'll say max width. Let's do that in rems. $650 divided by 16, 40.625 rems. 40.625 rems. And let's see here. Maybe that needs to be a little bit wider. I'm going to make it a little wider. Oh, Malik asked a question. Hang on. Is DigitalOcean down currently? Looked around and it says everything is up and running. I don't think it's down, because I think, let's check and see if our stuff is up. So my stuff is up on DigitalOcean. Did you have billing set up? Well, today's the 1st of the month. So did you have billing set up? Did you get billed for your services? I would say log into DigitalOcean and see if you had billing set up. If you didn't, oh, let's see here. Ignore it was because I was logged into my internship GitHub, not my personal one. So is Pastry still up? Yeah, you're definitely having some, we're definitely not loading. So here's my advice. Log into DigitalOcean, make sure that whatever payment method you have on file is actually working, because DigitalOcean will take down your site if the payment doesn't go through. Ask me how I know. Otherwise, oh, you took down Pastry. You want to go through the full process again. Got it. I was confused by the question. So, okay, got it. Okay, false alarm. I was panicking for a second. So, that's the best way to do it, is take your practice websites and practice deployment. If you have an interest in learning how to do like a LAMP stack and use the terminal and things like that, learn a little Apache and Linux. I've got a couple tutorials on the channel about deployment with DigitalOcean. And I highly recommend that, especially if you're a front-end developer and you have a desire to learn a little bit more about deployment. Nothing wrong with the good old one-click install, but I highly recommend that you go through the process and learn to really use the terminal and set up a droplet, or on DigitalOcean they're called droplets, virtual private server, VPS, same thing. And yeah, I think I have links in the description. They are affiliate links, but if you'll save a little money, you'll get a couple months free. And yeah, it's a fun process. And we have a question here. So sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this name. Please tell me a platform to practice JavaScript. I can recommend, I'm going to recommend something called Learn JavaScript Online. I'm personally working on this. I haven't done it in a couple of months. I need to get back and work on it. I'll put this in the chat. I think it's really, really fun and it's incredibly useful. But listen, there's no substitute for practicing. So if you really want to learn how to do something, you really want to learn JavaScript, there's no substitute for practice. Find an idea, think of an idea, think of something that you want to build, and just start problem solving and implement your project. That's the best way to do it. So there's no substitute for project-based learning. There is no course or tutorial that can replace a project and learning how to implement your ideas. That's where the real problem solving and the real learning comes from. So, okay. I think 650 is a little narrow here, so I'm actually going to change this to 768. Let's see what that is. 768 divided by 16 is 48. And we can adjust our grid template columns if we need to, and we do need to, because this is a little too skinny here. So I'm just going to do like this. There, what do we think of that? I think this way is even just a tiny bit wider. So now we have, this input is 347.07 pixels wide, 347.08 pixels wide. Our button is 57 by 54, more than meets our tap target requirement for accessibility. So I'm going to adjust this to 6 plus 6 plus 1 equals 13. Again, I'm asking the question, is this supposed to add up to something? I have no idea. It makes no sense to me. So I'm going to have to do a little research. I'm going to have to do a little research on my own. What do we say here? 6 plus 6 plus 1. Makes sense. Make it make sense. There we go. Okay, so here's our newsletter sign up. And somebody's asking, can we create a day-night theme using only CSS? So I think you're asking about like a light dark toggle. Well, you can do like 98% of the work with CSS. We have done a toggle before on this project called Responsive Video Gallery. So the best way, in my opinion, the best way to approach this is to do the majority of the work with CSS. Just add a body class and add a click event to a button. That is the best way to do it, in my opinion. So there you go. That's my advice. If you're curious about how I did it, there's more than one way to do anything, right? So those are just my approaches. But I guess the answer is no. I don't think you could do a pure theme switcher toggle without a little bit of JavaScript. You're going to need a click event to like change a class, but you could do like 98% of the heavy lifting with CSS. In my opinion, you don't need to do all of that with JavaScript. So, okay, let's work on getting this a little bit responsive. So we have this section right here with the grid. That is right up here. So again, we did this grid. We'll do a media query. I'm going to do 1024 pixels. Let's make sure that that'll work for us. So that means we're going to go responsive right about here. And that's when we switch everything else. So I think it's okay to switch this too. Maybe this will hold out to 768. What do we think? Yeah, let's try it. 768. You don't have to use the same breakpoint for everything. So we don't need that. And then we can change this to just 1 FR, and then we'll change the gap to 1. Yeah, that works. I think that works. So our header and our mobile switch at 1024, and then that switches at 768. That means if you were still on an iPad, you would still have a nice cozy view here without that long roll. So how long does this hold up for? I mean, this holds up pretty well even to like 600. So maybe at 600 we can change that. And we can adjust those later if we want to. So we'll adjust this. Don't need this. So I guess we would just change this to 1 FR. Yeah, that's fine. Let's make sure that we have a little bit of padding on this button, but only on mobile. So right now we have 0 padding on this button, and that's part of our global styles right here, padding 0. So let's make sure that that button has padding, but only on mobile. That's a little much. There, that looks good. All right, I think that works. We still have a lot of spacing issues, and there's this border to deal with. I'm just going to keep moving forward with the things that are easy to get done, and then we're going to come back and we'll modify those things. So we spent a lot of time yesterday clamping the padding on this headline module right here. And then I deleted all of it because I decided to move the spacing to a global section. And I'm still deciding on how I'm going to deal with these borders because the sections are full width. And I'm just not there yet. So I just want to keep going and get the stuff done that I know is really easy to do. And then we'll come back and revisit that. So that's just the easiest way for me to work. So, okay, what's next? So our newsletter's done. Now we have this blog section right here. And here's our secondary heading, recent blog. I'm going to add our center class to get those centered. I feel like that is just the easiest way to deal with those. Beautiful. And then everything else, our blog items, our articles are inside this wrap. So we'll call this the blog, recent blog. So this is the blog. Wrap is going to be like our grid. And I'm going to say display grid. Grid template columns there. Two, 1 FR, right? Yeah. And then we'll give this some gap. We'll do 2 rems. Beautiful. Now we'll make sure that our images can support any aspect ratio. I highly recommend that you learn to deal with images with CSS. I think it's just going to make it a lot easier for your content creators once you hand this off. What is our aspect ratio? 610 by 380. So 610 divided by 380 equals 1.6052631. So we'll just do 1.6. That's our aspect ratio. So our blog figure, we have a width of 100%, a height of auto, an aspect ratio of 1.6 to 1. And then our blog image is going to be a width of 100%, a height of 100%, and object fit cover. Beautiful. Love it. And then I think we kind of decided that these titles, honestly, I think these titles are slightly bigger than these titles. but I styled those the same. So I styled those the same here, and I'm going to style them the same here. So let's make sure that everything is centered. We have center here on the H2. Should we just put center on the entire container? Yeah. That works. And then let's add a little space underneath our figures. So we'll just put a little margin there. I'm going to say 0, 0, 2 rems. Is that what I did here? I think so. And then we moved around the content because when we were writing our markup, somebody asked in the chat about using a footer element inside an article element. And we looked it up. Did we read the documentation or did we ask ChatGPT? We might have asked ChatGPT. So we decided that we were going to use this footer element to hold our metadata, right? So the metadata is like the author, the date, time, the category, the comments, the read more button, which means that we had to just move around our markup a little bit. So it doesn't match this exactly. I think we had to move our description up underneath the title, and then everything else got moved down, which is completely fine. So that's why that looks a little bit different. So here's our H3. I think we need to trim some of that margin off. So for our tertiary headings inside the blog, so we'll do blog tertiary heading, and I'm going to change that margin. Tertiary heading. I'm going to say 0, 0, 1 rem. Yeah, that looks a little better. Not going to change, so that's uppercase. I'm not going to change. Okay, we'll change the font color. I feel like we do this every time, and I'm always surprised by how light I can go and still be accessible. So we'll try it. Let's add maybe, well, let's just add, crack open the color contrast checker. Color contrast checker. So if our background's white, what can we get away with? I don't remember. Okay, definitely not that. Oops. That's darker. A, B, C, D, E, F. F is lighter. So maybe that's still pretty dark. 0 is, there we go. So that fails. So 7, 7. That passes. That's still okay, but that's still darker. That's darker. So we definitely want to go in the other direction. Yeah, so 0 is lighter. So I'm going in the wrong direction. So 6, 8, 6, 8, 6, 8. There we go. Now we're going in the right direction. Okay, that fails. See, it's not really that dynamic. That works. Okay, let's try that. So let's add a new color. We'll call it medium gray. Medium gray. And then here's our footer meta. So I'm going to make everything gray, but we're going to restyle the read more link. That will be different. So I'm going to say blog meta color. This will be our medium gray color. And then also text transform uppercase, and we'll give this a little letter spacing of 1 pixel. I love it. It does have just a little bit of contrast. I love it. And then our links are styled. Our links are styled because we already had really specific link styles, so it didn't impact our anchor elements at all. I think, though, for the read more links, let's just reverse what's happening on the focus, hover, active. So when you hover, you see the underline. And then also these also need to be, oh, they are uppercase. I mean, does it matter? What do we think? You know what else I think I'm going to do? I think for the tertiary headings, I'm going to change the margin globally. That's the other thing I'm going to do. So this right here, we don't need that. So up here, tertiary heading. There we go. And I also think that we can change this text also to be our medium gray color, which I said yesterday I wasn't going to do, but let's go ahead and do that. So that's the, right up here in our grid, that's the time element inside the grid. Whoops. Right here. So let's do grid time. We have, do we style time though? We did. Do we just want to make it change the color here and then we don't have to rewrite it? And we don't have to do it here. There, I love it. So it's just a little subtle contrast, a little bit lighter, but we're still meeting accessibility standards. And we'll leave this. We'll leave this. So these are going to get the default link styles. Love it. And let's see here. Let's see what's happening. How do you connect HTML and CSS like a button? I don't know if I understand what the question is. How do you connect HTML and CSS? Are you asking about linking your style sheet? I'm not sure. So we have a style.css right here. And then in your index.html, we link the style sheet. So that's how those two things are connected. Is that your question? I'm not sure if that's what your question is. But if that's your question, that's how I'm interpreting that. So. Okay, moving on. So next we have our testimonial slider. So we'll get the markup in. Do we have our markup in place for the testimonial slider? Let's see here. We do. So we'll do the CSS for this, and then we will eventually add some JavaScript to power that. Testimonial slider. So our unordered list is the slider. We'll start with that. It also has the wrap. So we're going to say padding 0, margin 0, and list style type none to remove those default unordered list styles. And then this also needs to be position relative, because we're going to stack the list items on top of each other, and then the JavaScript will add an active class to each list item, and will use CSS to show the list item based on the navigation, whether you're going forward or backward. So then our list item, these are going to be position absolute. So these are going to be the slide. I have to think about this. So these are position relative. How did we do this last time? This isn't our first time doing a testimonial slider. And I know we did an unordered list to stack the list items. But how did we control the height? I don't remember. Should we just go look? What was that project? Let's look. I need to refresh my memory. Was it this? Yes, it was this. I feel like this project was a million years ago. Okay. So here's the unordered list. Here are the list items that are position absolute. Okay, so they have a width and a height of 100%. But for the one that's active, it's height auto. So it's height. Okay. And I think we have more than one slider on the page. That's why there's two sets of styles here. So it's height 0 if it's not active, and if it's active, it's height auto to automatically fit the text. That works with position absolute, really? Okay, let's try it. So this would be position absolute, and we are using inset. Okay, position absolute, inset, which is like top, bottom, left, right. It's shorthand. Width 100%, height 0 by default. And then we want to make sure that we have opacity 0, pointer events none. That's for the ones that are hidden. So opacity 0, pointer events none. We'll worry about the transition later, which would mean then for the slide that's active, it would be height auto, because I'm not planning to control the size of the testimonial. That would be an easy solution, to control the size or control the amount of text. I personally think that it's better to not do that and let it be however long it is, but that's the content creator or the leadership team. That's their decision to make. I make it as flexible as possible. And if you want to control the amount of text, that's completely fine. So then let's say that this slide would be active right here. We'll just put that in. So here's, I don't know if I can see it right now or not. There it is. No, we can't see it at all. So what else are we? Here's the section. There's the slider controls. There's the UL. So it does have some other position relative does need to have also a height auto. Oh, so it's back here. We just can't see it. So here's the active slide. Yeah, I knew that height auto didn't seem quite right. Like, what else am I missing here? There's something else I'm missing. So here's the active slider. Where is it getting its height from? Position. Oh, you have to change it to position relative when it's active. That's why. That's why. That makes sense. Now I get it. Okay. And we probably need some Z index here too. Can't we see you? You're here. I know you're here. You're taking up space. Oh, the opacity. Okay. The opacity. Opacity. That's why. There we go. Okay, so here's our slider. Here's our testimonial selection. Here's our slider wrap. Here's our LI. So when the LI is active, so these are all stacked on top of each other. When the list item is active, then this container will grow or shrink depending on the content. So if we take out this active, just like that, nothing, you don't see anything because they're all, nothing's active, but then we can make this active. There it is. Beautiful. Okay, so that's exactly what we want. Here's our CSS for the slider. And then the JavaScript will be when we use the navigation. Do I have navigation in here? Okay, let's get our navigation in here. We need to add our navigation arrows, so we're going to put these right up here. When you go forward or backward, they will add an active class to a list item. And then based on the active class, the CSS will change. And then we will also transition. So we're transitioning the opacity. You can't really transition position or height, but you transition opacity. So that'll give it a nice, clean slider feel. So let's see here. So we'll just do this. Transition, opacity, 300 milliseconds, and we'll say ease in out. All right, now let's do our slider navigation, which we forgot to put in the arrows, so we'll just do that now. So we'll just do div, slider, nav, and then those need to be buttons. So we'll just say button. We'll give this a class of, so on the left, it's previous. On the right, it's next. So we'll say, we're going to give these two classes, slider, button, and then we'll say previous button. And then also this is a type equals button, and we'll want an ARIA label to say previous testimonial, and then let's add our SVGs. Chevron down. Did I not even grab SVGs? Okay, let's go grab some. So here's previous, chevron back. And then here's chevron forward. Yes. And this is a good question. I think CSS might take longer, and it may take some time to debug. Would you recommend splitting CSS into section-based files like header.css and footer.css, etc., for better maintainability? Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the project. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I am very comfortable working in this. You're not the first person to ask this question. I am very comfortable working in these files and debugging CSS, especially when I wrote the CSS from scratch. What you're describing is probably a good SAS architecture where you could have partials and you could split up your files. I choose not to because this makes me, I'm comfortable with this and I don't want the additional HTTP requests of loading multiple CSS files. And we don't have the capability that I'm aware of in vanilla CSS to do imports like with Sass, right? So if you feel like you need to, for maintainability and debugging, you need to split that stuff up, then yeah, you should go ahead and do that. If that is easier for you to maintain. Certainly on an enterprise level website with multiple developers and lots of attrition over many years, I would not recommend one gigantic CSS file. I'm not saying that that's the way you should do that at all. The whole point of my channel and these projects is to get you comfortable with vanilla CSS, period. Do you know the difference between a div and a span? That might sound rudimentary to you, but I have known one or two junior developers who didn't know the difference. Do you understand basic positioning? Do you understand display properties? Do you know the difference between block, inline, and inline block? What those differences are and why you would choose one or the other, or what the default property is. That's the whole point of this. It's not to say that you should be doing enterprise level vanilla CSS files. It's to say that you should understand some basics, and however way you organize your files for debugging and maintainability, that is up to you. You don't get that much flexibility with vanilla, do you? Not like with Sass or less or something like that. So I used to do Sass in the very beginning, and honestly, probably not, because you need a compiler for that, right? And I think there are other channels that are probably doing it better than me. I just feel really strongly about keeping things vanilla. Not because I think that Sass is bad or compilers are bad, but the whole premise of my channel is that you only need three things to build a website. You need index.html, style.css, and script.js. Those are the three things that the browser renders natively, that you don't, that the browser renders natively, that you don't need a package manager, you don't need a compiler, you don't need Node, you don't need Yarn, you don't need any of that stuff. And the whole point here is to promote the fact that we can get you some easy wins in the browser without having to worry about the other stuff for now. That's really all this is. So yeah, no, I'm probably not going to do Sass again on this channel, just because I kind of like the lane that I'm in. It works for me and it gets my point across. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if I answered your question, or if there's anything else that you would like me to touch on. I'm not saying that you have to build big enterprise level websites and manage all your CSS in one place. I do it because I'm comfortable with the process. It doesn't bother me. And this is practice. And everything that I do on this channel, I make freely available for anybody who wants to use it. And I would expect that, let's say you have a freelance client and you're like, gosh, that template would be perfect. I would love to use that template. She's giving it away. I'm allowed to use it for in whatever way I want. I would expect you to take it and do whatever you want with it. And if that's convert it to Sass, break up the CSS, turn it into a WordPress theme, you are free to do that. It is open source work. And that the reason I do this is because I want to give back to this community. So I hope that makes sense. Okay. So here's our slide styles. Okay, SVGs. So we want chevron back. This is our previous button. Pop this in here, and this is going to be aria hidden true. And then we want to take out this inline color. So this is stroke current color fill none. We don't want to remove the attribute, we just want to remove this value. Now we're going to be able to style these SVGs any way we want with CSS. So here's our previous button. And actually, I am going to copy this. We'll copy this. And this is going to be our next button. And one moment. Okay. So this is going to be next testimonial. Oops. So here's the next button, next testimonial, ARIA label, ARIA hidden true, remove the stroke value. Okay, so now we have our buttons. Do we need... Let's go ahead and style this image and then figure out how we're gonna situate these buttons. So we have our, these are up on top, that's fine. Here's our figure, so we'll do our slide figure. Okay, good. Yeah, let me, sometimes I don't know if I'm like answering questions cleanly or if I'm over explaining or if I'm missing the point. That's it. Sometimes I feel like I'm just missing the point, so good. Glad that helped. So we're gonna do the slide figure. And we'll do a width of, well, what does it say here? 100 by 100. That seems pretty small, but we'll go with it. 100 pixels. Well, what is that in rems? Let's do rems. 100 divided by 16 is 6.25. I'm going to do a width of 6.25 rems by a height of 6.25 rems, and then this will be a margin of 0 auto. Or I guess we could set an aspect ratio, but it's not full width, so we still have to say what the width is. So we'll just do a width of that. We'll do a height of auto, and then we'll do an aspect ratio of 1:1. That'll make it a square. And then our slide image will be width 100%, height 100%, object fit cover. There it is. And then let's make sure that this has a border radius of 50%. There we go. It's pretty small. And then, oh, we screwed up our centering. Height 0 auto. There we go. And then let's also, we need to center our text. So let's just put the center class right here, and that should center our text. There we go. And then we want these to be, oh, I didn't switch out the, yeah, we need to switch that out. Okay, so we have the opposite arrow. So here's our forward arrow. Aria hidden true. And then take out that stroke current color value. Now we have previous and next. And I guess I'm going to put these in the middle horizontally of the container. I mean, we could just put them at a fixed value from the top. We could do that because we know the height of this and we know the amount of padding. We know this is 100 pixels and we know that there's 3 rems of padding. So that's 100. Well, we know it's 6.25 rems plus 3 rems, which is 9.25 times 16, which is 148 pixels, 100 plus 48, so divided by 2. Well, no, you would want to do 48 pixels plus 50 to get it in the middle. Okay. Let's make this container position relative, the testimonials section. Testimonials position relative, and I'm just going to set a z index of 0 on this just to establish a stacking order. I'm going to do this here as well. It's a good best practice. And then I'm not going to put a z index on either of these. We will if we need to. And then here's our slider nav. Slider nav. I'm going to say position, no. Position absolute. For now, I'm just going to say top 0 and we'll position it. Width 100%. And then let's also do display, flex, flex, flow, row, no wrap. And then justify content, space between. That moves the first item and the last item, and there are only 2 items all the way to the left, all the way to the right. And then align items center. I don't know if that's that important. There we go. Perfect. Now, since this is position absolute, we can move this wherever we want. So this is good because we it fits perfectly into the space with the padding. Oh, but wait a second, our buttons are a little off. Okay, so this is doing this. Hang on here. Oh, we need to say not just top 0, but we need to say left 0. There we go. There we go. So our testimonials have padding of 3 rems on the top, and our slider navigation fits perfectly into that space because the SVGs are 3 rems by 3 rems. So that math works out really, really nicely. So we know that 3 rems is 48 pixels, and we know that our image is 100 pixels tall. So if we want to push this down and have it be exactly in the center of this, which is what the mock-up shows, and I'm not going to change the size of the arrow because 48 by 48 is the minimum tap target for accessibility. We may want to change the positioning, but let's not worry about that for now. So what's the math? 100 divided by, so if I want to get 48 in the middle of 100, it's not 50 or 50%. I have to think about this. So it would be 100 minus 48 divided by 2, which is 26. And 26 divided by 16 is 1.625. So the top would be 1.625 rems. Is that right? No. Plus 3 rems. So this would actually be 4.625. There, look at that. It's directly in, it's right in the middle. Right in the middle. So it's 3 rems to account for the padding. And then if we take 100, which we know is the height, we subtract 48, which 100 is the height of the image. We subtract 48, which is the height of the button. Divide that by 2. That comes out to 3 plus 1.625, and that puts it right in the middle. Love it. Let's adjust this now. So instead of space between where it puts them all the way to either edge, let's do space evenly. We could do space around, but let's do space evenly. I think that'll pull those in a little bit. Yeah, look at that. So it grows and shrinks a little bit based on the size. We may want to do space around. That works. That's okay. That's down to like 288. There's 3 something. And then we could always change this on mobile too. So we can change these buttons. We can move these. And then let's make sure that they have the right color. So our slider nav SVG. SVG. The stroke is our accent color. Just like that. That works. Oh. I am gonna change this to space evenly. And you know what? We can write a media query to take care of that. It's not getting any hover. Why isn't it? Oh, probably because we do need to give this some z-index. There we go. Now our mouse is changing. We have to be able to interact with that. And we'll want to do some styles for focus, hover, and active. Yeah, that works. I like it. Okay. Memory Clips was here. Hello, have a good stream. Thank you. Memory Clips is from Turkey. We love the Turks. I've been to Turkey. It is an amazing country. everybody, I think that this is a good place to, we're just about at the 2 hour mark, so I think this is a good place to stop for today. It's coming along. I need to come up with a plan for those borders. Yeah, we need to come up with a plan for the borders. Not sure about that yet. But we should be able to jump in and finish the footer. We really just have the footer left to do. So let's plan. The plan for Tuesday is that I will be done with the JavaScript for the navigation and the submenus on Tuesday. Also for our search drawer, opening and closing our search drawer, and finish styling the footer. That's the plan for Tuesday. And then we're going to have to jump into our JavaScript for the testimonial slider. I'm really tempted to just go grab our JavaScript from that previous slider that we did. I mean, is that cheating? Is there anything wrong with that? Maybe if I finish the JavaScript for the navigation before Tuesday, I can prep this as well. We can just get it all done. Wouldn't that be nice? I do have one thing that I want to talk about, which is the rest of March. One moment here while I pull this up. So I'd really like in March to do a couple of sprints. Not one, but two. So I'm thinking that March 7th through March 12th, and then March 14th through March 19th. So I'm thinking I'm going to do 2 6-day sprints. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's the reason why I'm going to do this very aggressive sprint. I have time to make up for, I missed 3 days of streaming in February because I had a sick dog, and then I was emotionally exhausted dealing with the sick dog. So I missed 3 days. So this would more than make up for the time lost, but also we're working on a pretty big project. Like, this is so far for sure going to be 4 pages. I actually think it's going to end up being 5 or 6 pages. I was also thinking yesterday that we're doing these multi-page sites and we're not building 404 pages. And I think that that's important too. So we've got plenty of work to do to justify the extra time. And I'll also be honest, YouTube loves when you're posting every single day. And the last time I did a sprint in January, I got a lot of subs and a lot of watch time hours. So I think that I'm going to do it. And I also, March is like free and clear as in terms of this month. There are no appointments. There are no vet appointments, grooming appointments, doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, all the appointments that we have to go and deal with. I have nothing on the calendar for March. So I would love nothing more than to do a couple of sprints, catch up on some time, continue to just bust out this site, and yeah, all that jazz. So look forward to that in the next couple of weeks. We're going to do a couple of big sprints. Malik says, good work as usual. Thank you, Malik. I appreciate that. Thank you, Rahul. Great progress today as well. I appreciate it. Come back on Tuesday, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm here Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We just hang out for a couple of hours. We practice vanilla. We build. And yeah, it's just about practicing and setting aside time to get better. Do me a favor if you haven't yet. Would you be so kind as to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already? Helps the algorithm, helps push this type of content out to more people who might be interested in things like this. Subscribe if you're not already. I would love to have you. I love talking to people. Christian Codes today gave me some great ideas. This is why I love talking to new developers. I love talking to other people, especially who are content creators. He encouraged me to have, I love the chat and I love my chat, but I also worry all the time about taking too long to solve a problem and whether or not the chat is feeling frustrated with how long it's taking me. And he really encouraged me today to make the chat the last priority, and that sometimes I just need to close the chat and set a timer, and whatever happens, happens. And so I appreciate those words. I also upgraded Christian to a mod because I love having people that I trust as mods on the channel. And then that way, whoever wants to pop in and hang out and keep an eye on things can do so. So the more the merrier, I say. And if you're over on Instagram, give me a follow on Instagram. I really want to build my profile and grow a bigger audience over there. And if you have questions or you want to chat with me, I'm always available on DM. So there's that. Monique says, have a good week ahead, everyone. Yes, I will see you on Tuesday. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are. And I will see you in my next one. Bye-bye.